on a lonely stretch of asphalt just south of Piketon. Trucks and cars travel the Appalachian Highway, speeding through Pike, one of Ohio's poorest counties. Past a credit union named Atomic, one of the few clues that this remote area once played a pivotal role in America's struggle to win the Cold War. Down this road, about a mile, a massive industrial complex comes into view. This is the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, or PORTS. Around here, it's known by a different name.
The A plant.
The A plant?
The A plant.
It's an imposing presence where colossal buildings are measured in acres, not feet. Gigantic structures that were built for one purpose: to capture one of nature's tiniest particles, uranium-235, the radioactive ingredient needed to ignite one of man's most feared and deadly weapons, the atomic bomb. Developed in secrecy during the Manhattan Project, the world's first nuclear bomb detonated on July 16, 1945, at the Trinity test site. Less than a month later, America dropped 2 of them, on Hiroshima, then Nagasaki, bringing Japan to its knees and ending World War II. Out of the ruin came a superpower showdown with the Soviet Union, which developed its own nuclear program, triggering the start of a decades-long Cold War. America responded, ramping up production of its atomic arsenal. In this global arms race, the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant was born.
Groundbreaking occurred on November 18, 1952.
By 1956, Ports began enriching uranium on a massive scale. Inside the plant, heated uranium hexafluoride was fed through thousands of compressors and pipes in a 1.5 mile long cascade to produce that all-important U-235.
The actual separation is accomplished by means of a barrier which contains billions of holes, each smaller than 2/1,000,000 of an inch.
Ports was an engineering marvel of its time and a cornerstone in America's Cold War efforts.
In the production of uranium-235 for military use in defense of our way of life.
Processing at Ports continued for decades, harvesting hundreds of tons of highly enriched uranium, the key ingredient for America's atomic weapons and for the nation's nuclear navy. Later, Ports also produced low-enriched uranium for America's nuclear power plants. Workers from Pike County and beyond were patriotic and proud.
You're a Cold War patriot and doing your own little thing to try to keep America safe.
And Ports provided people here with rare, high-paying jobs.
It's the best paying job around.
But decades later, it became clear that patriotism and progress came at a price. Workers had been exposed to radiation at Ports, and many began to get sick, contracting cancer and dying in numbers that were too high to ignore. In 2000, President Clinton signed the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program Act, which pays former workers at ports and other nuclear weapons facilities across the country up to $150,000 for 22 types of cancers caused by exposure to radiation, and up to $250,000 for sicknesses related to toxic substances. Plus, the act pays for all medical expenses for life. But out here, in the communities surrounding Ports, people have been living and dying from the same sicknesses and cancers that killed generations of workers.
Seems like anybody dies, they die from cancer.
And many who suffer out here say they've been forgotten.
I feel like this place is an environmental sacrifice zone.
While the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, which owns and controls the now closed and decommissioned plant, insists there is no health threat posed by Ports to communities around it, our fallout investigation has revealed a much different and more disturbing picture. with startling claims made by scientists.
Did our government kill our own people?
Yes.
And former workers who say Ports was a place where radioactive releases were routine.
They would vent regularly, yes?
Yes,
Every night?
every night that I knew of.
Was that radioactive?
Yes.
Radioactive particles from Ports have long been picked up by air monitors and in dust inside homes 10 miles away, even in a middle school 4 miles from the plant. And data reveals Pike County, home of Ports, has one of the highest cancer and premature death rates in America.
We've got alarming cancer rates.
And those rates continue to climb.
It's statistically significant, and it is shocking.
We've met face to face and filled an auditorium with grieving families.
I just want my son to be recognized.
And with cancer patients fighting to stay alive.
You're gonna make it.
I believe so, yeah, I hope so. I'm scared.
Despite DOE's assurances that everything's okay, people here make it clear who they blame for causing all this cancer and death.
I want you to raise your hands if you blame our government, the U.S. Department of Energy and Ports, for causing your cancers. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Duane Pohlman. Over the past 5 years, I've been following a trail of radioactive contamination and covering tragic cases of cancer and death that are far too common around this plant. From the beginning, the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, which owns and operates this now closed facility, has insisted there is no health or safety threat posed by Ports. But DOE refuses to sit down with me and talk on camera about these issues. Over the next hour, I'll reveal new information as former workers tell me about routine radioactive releases at Ports, and I'll track down some new trails of contamination. I'll reveal cancer and death rates around this plant that are shocking, even to experts. Plus, you'll meet cancer victims and their families in a remarkable town hall that was filled with tragedy, tears, and triumph. What you're about to see is extraordinary and disturbing as my fallout investigation continues to uncover contamination, cancer, and death.
In the rocky crevices of an ancient lava field in New Mexico, Dr. Michael Ketterer, an environmental chemist and professor emeritus at Northern Arizona University, is collecting samples.
All of this is dust that's come in from the wind.
Searching for plutonium particles 20 miles from the Trinity test site where the world's first atomic bomb detonated 80 years ago.
My worry is the content of plutonium in the dusts that people are regularly exposed to here.
It's an unlikely place to find the scientist who's been crucial to exposing contamination around the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, which is 1,300 miles away. But with his keen understanding of radiation, chemistry, and contamination, Dr. Ketterer says the reason he's here and in southern Ohio is simple.
It's just go here and there and try to see where can you find the breadcrumbs of the contamination out there in the environment.
Following those breadcrumbs of contamination first brought Dr. Ketterer on a trip of curiosity to Pike County. In 2019, Dr. Ketterer organized an effort to collect dust from inside Zons Corner Middle School. At his lab at Northern Arizona University, he analyzed the samples.
I know very well that there is an awful lot riding on these measurements.
In that dust from the school, Dr. Ketterer identified enriched uranium. Across the street from Zons Corner Middle School, this air monitor picked up neptunium-237 and americium-241, radioactive isotopes connected to plutonium. Later testing revealed those isotopes inside the school as well. In May of 2019, the school board voted to close Zons Corner. Board member Wayne Smith's daughter, Kate, attended Zons Corner and was just 15 years old when she died from rhabdomyosarcoma, a rare cancer.
You shut that school down.
Yes, we did.
Why?
Because it's not safe.
DOE conducted its own tests inside the school and stated there is no radioactivity detected above naturally occurring levels and no cause for public health concern.
DOE still says it's fine.
It's not fine. Any level of radiation, in my mind, is not something that's suitable for children.
Dr. Ketterer continued digging.
This is a perfect time to take a sample of it.
Collecting and finding radioactive contamination from the A plant in soil, creeks, even in plants growing around ports. 2 years ago, I suited up in full protective gear to follow a radioactive trail inside the home of Charles Chick Lawson, a former guard and safety investigator at Ports, who lives 10 miles from the plant. Up in the attic, I helped Lawson vacuum dust and debris. We got a bag full and sent it all to Dr. Ketterer. In his lab, he confirmed it was heavily contaminated with enriched uranium.
They're alpha-emitting isotopes. You don't want to breathe them in.
Are you scared?
Yes, I'm terribly scared.
Dr. Ketterer's findings often contradict DOE's longstanding claim that there's no health threat posed by ports. DOE's position was bolstered in March last year when this report from the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, or ATSDR, published this health consultation report, which was funded by DOE. ATSDR analyzed 7 years of data from dozens of government air monitors and thousands of samples of soil, sediment, surface water, animals, and plants. It also analyzed this report from Pike County's comprehensive community sampling at 63 homes and personal properties in a 6-mile radius around ports from 2020 to 2022. Using all that data and more, ATSDR concluded exposure to radionuclides, which are radioactive particles, within a 6-mile radius of the U.S. DOE Ports facility is not expected to harm people's health.
The conclusion of that report was, it's all good, no health threat, right?
Right.
Is that correct?
Well, from what I see.
Jennifer Chandler, who chairs the local council of governments, says there is concerning contamination at some of the properties that were sampled around ports. According to Chandler, who has an MBA and bachelor's degree in environmental science, nearly half of all the homes and properties sampled and tested in that 6-mile zone around ports show levels of contamination above EPA thresholds.
Based on the raw data that we have, we believe there are 31 properties that are above the US EPA threshold for risk for cancer.
These people are living in places that have an exposure level that, by the science that we have, will likely make them sick.
It could make them sick, yes.
The report from ATSDR left that part out. Instead, ATSDR combined the contaminated homes and properties with properties that had low or no contamination to get an average that fell below a cause for concern.
So the solution to pollution is dilution.
Right. It was like, oh, these numbers are above what we would see if it was safe. So we're going to do additional work and we're going to calculate this.
Now, Chandler and local governments are forced to deal with data from 31 individual homes and properties that clearly show a risk for cancer.
This is insanity. It's insanity.
It doesn't make any sense why there are decision makers who are making the decision to not engage on this issue.
I reached out to ATSDR to explain its methodology and conclusion in the report. I'm still waiting for its response.
This would be the same water that's flowing under the plant.
I know.
That scare you?
Yeah.
Darwin Pettit lives on a farm that was built 1 year before the Civil War. Like many in Pike County, he's been through a lot.
I had 2 daughters, one of them passed away.
From?
A seizure 2 weeks before my wife passed away of lung cancer.
5 years ago, an environmental team showed up at his home, which is 3.3 miles from Ports and just 2,000 feet from Zons Corner Middle School. He says they were all wearing full protective gear.
Hazmat suits on.
Hazmat?
Yes.
Like the zip-up suits?
Yes, sir.
Did they have the hood over?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pettit showed me where they went, digging into the soil under this old chestnut tree.
They went about 6 inches down or a foot down and got the sample down there.
They got dust samples from high up in the rafters of his old barn and from inside his historic home.
Here, come here.
In his attic.
So that's where they went? Wow.
Yep, that's where they went.
And they collected dust back there?
Yeah.
The team even planted a small garden.
They grew some sort of leaf lettuce in the garden.
And returned to harvest it.
They've sampled my garden several times.
Then, Pettit says, they were gone.
Did anybody even tell you whether it's safe or unsafe here?
No. No. I have never heard anything.
I obtained this draft of a risk analysis report for Pettit's property, dated July 25th, by an environmental consulting group in Washington, D.C. It reveals his property is riddled with radioactive contamination, including elements produced in nuclear reactions. The highest detections on Pettit's property include americium, plutonium, technetium, neptunium, and uranium-238, 233, 234, 235, and 236. The report states testing revealed elevated concentrations and activities of radionuclides in the shallow soil that exceed EPA risk-based thresholds for both carcinogenic and systemic toxicant effects over a lifetime of exposure, and that the concentrations of uranium in the soil at Pettit's property was detected at over 18 parts per million. That's 6 times higher than naturally occurring levels of uranium. And according to the report, it came likely from the Ports facility. The contamination is so high, the risk analysis report recommends additional testing to determine if the property requires remediation to reduce the presumed risk posed. After waiting for years to get the results,
I'll just give it to you as straight as I can.
I broke the bad news to Pettit.
They found that your property is unsafe.
I didn't know that, but I do now. But I mean, I'm retired. What am I going to do? It scares you. I mean, it scares me. Nobody's going to help me. Nobody's going to do a thing about it.
During our interview,
I don't want my community contaminated. I can't do this.
Jennifer Chandler got emotional, making it very clear she wished the testing wasn't finding contamination and families living with it.
You know, nobody's sitting there wanting them to find contamination on somebody's yard where their 4-year-old plays. You don't want that. You want them to come back and say, you really have nothing to worry about. See, we did the sampling and, you know, everybody's safe.
Dr. Ketterer is frustrated too.
DOE is saying everything is good within 6 miles. We find no evidence. And I'm saying, well, I find your contamination everywhere.
The ATSDR report dismissed all of Dr. Ketterer's findings, including radioactive particles he discovered in filters from independent air monitors near Ports. The ATSDR report states his results were not reported as air concentrations, so it was not able to use the results. Same with the radioactive dust and debris I helped collect from Lawson's home. ATSDR says simply it was not able to use Dr. Ketterer's results. Even Dr. Ketterer's contamination discovery at Zons Corner Middle School was dismissed. ATSDR writing that the concentrations of enriched uranium found inside were below the minimum detectable activity, adding it's so low that ATSDR would not expect to see any observable adverse health effects.
Save our kids! Save our kids!
Last year, protesters gathered at Zons Corner Middle School when word spread that the still contaminated school was about to be sold.
Insanity. Like that's, what are you thinking?
The decision to sell came down to cost of upkeep for a cash-strapped district.
From our perspective, we spend a lot of money on that school to keep it functional.
Despite the protests,
$275 to be with the $300,000.
the school building was auctioned off to a local church, which now occupies and holds services inside.
Since my fallout investigation began, DOE has insisted there is no threat posed by ports. But 25 years ago, an independent investigation by one of DOE's own offices came to a much different and more disturbing conclusion. Those findings back up what former employees have been telling me all along, that radioactive releases were routine here at the plant, from leaks, vents, and what the workers call midnight rockets.
You had leaking and you had venting.
Processing at ports involved lots of leaking and venting, and former workers say that included routine radioactive releases.
I'm sure that it was blowing radioactive contamination out those stacks.
It happened routinely.
The former employees who talked to me, some for the first time, are backed up by a pile of documents from numerous federal agencies and committees at ports. The most comprehensive report about radioactive releases at the plant was published in May of 2000 by DOE's Office of Oversight, Environment, Safety, and Health, which conducted an independent investigation and found hundreds of uranium hexafluoride releases occurred at the plant. The report went on, these releases caused many intakes of uranium, and they contaminated work areas and the environment. And the most dramatic and disturbing releases happened at night.
If you can't do it right, do it at night.
From pipes called vent stacks inside that tower on the south wall of the now demolished 326 building, where the highest enriched uranium was located. Operators here would let loose, purging the system of its gases.
They would vent regularly, yes?
Yes.
Every night?
Every night that I knew of.
Workers called these releases midnight rockets.
Are you familiar with the term midnight rockets?
Yes.
Tell me what that is.
The midnight rockets were the forced evacuation of gases within the product that had to be removed in order for the product to remain in specification. And these would ordinarily be done off hours.
Hence the term midnight rocket.
That's correct.
Former chief scientist at Ports, Dr. David Menuda, says the midnight rockets were part of the atmospheric exhaust system, engineered to shoot high-volume discharges high into the sky. It didn't always work out that way.
I walked out, whatever was the atmosphere, I vomited.
Immediately.
Uncontrollably.
When fog hung low, Jeff Walburn, a former security guard, says the discharges did too.
I couldn't breathe for 3 weeks. My face was burnt. I was burnt.
Don Gawley, another guard, says he was sometimes stuck on the roof when the exhaust from the midnight rockets opened up.
You'd have burning, you know, your nose would burn and everything, and I'd get out of the wind.
You'd hide.
Oh, yeah.
While monitors and traps were supposed to catch radioactive releases, technician Dave Simpson says they were often purposely disabled.
So you're saying the operators would purposely take it out of commission?
Purposely sabotage it and get it out of commission.
And did that ever stop them from venting?
Not to my knowledge. You have to vent or you can't run the system.
Simpson's statement is backed up by that independent investigation, which wrote the system provided opportunities for operator error or intentional bypassing of traps and monitors, resulting in unmonitored releases to the atmosphere.
So every night, a lot of gas was released that was contaminated with radiation, and everybody knew it.
Those who gave the authorization to do that.
People who had no association with the plant whatsoever, other than living near it, are getting contaminants dropping out of the sky nightly.
Unfortunately, yes.
The independent investigation in 2000 verified that too, writing, despite the discharge restrictions, it is clear that enough radionuclides and chemicals have been released to create legacy environmental contamination, adding approximately 10,545 kilograms of uranium have been released to the atmosphere from 1955 to 1993 at ports. That's 23,248 pounds of uranium. And, as Dr. Menuda will tell you,
uranium can't be made non-radioactive.
Under an international agreement called megatons to megawatts, the U.S. spent billions after the former Soviet Union collapsed to secure 20,000 nuclear warheads from Russia, converting all those plutonium warheads to uranium, then shipping it all for processing at just one place, ports. In 2022, then DOE Assistant Secretary Ike White, who was in charge of cleanup at ports, denied plutonium was ever at the plant.
No plutonium.
No, it was uranium.
You never had plutonium?
Not that I'm aware of.
But documents I uncovered clearly reveal plutonium was in the mix at ports. In 1995, this official Moody report identified several forms of plutonium inside the plant. Handwritten notes from the Moody team reveal plutonium was identified in solid, liquid, and gas forms inside ports. And this 1998 inventory list at ports notes plutonium inside, including a 55-gallon drum containing both plutonium-238 and 239. According to the former chief scientist at ports, it's well known that plutonium is one of the most toxic and radioactive elements known to cause cancer.
The chemical and radiological toxicity associated with plutonium is many, many times worse than uranium.
When pressed about the plutonium at ports, White walked away from me and my questions.
Yes or no, did you ever have plutonium at the plant?
This plant was intended to process uranium.
I understand.
Yes,
that doesn't answer the question. That didn't answer the question. Did you have plutonium? Did you have plutonium?
After that exchange, DOE issued this statement. The shipments were of low-enriched uranium, not plutonium, DOE wrote, adding, there is no evidence over the 20 years of safely implementing the program to substantiate the claim that plutonium of any amount that would be significant for public health and safety was part of these shipments. After my reports aired, elected leaders began paying attention.
I'm glad it's getting coverage.
From a county commissioner to a congressman.
You know, it's first time you see it, it is shocking.
In 2022, then U.S. Representative Tim Ryan, who was running for a Senate seat, came to Pike County, promising to get to the bottom of the contamination questions I raised.
I think we are now obligated to ask the Department of Energy to to be completely transparent and release all the information that they have.
So you're making that request?
I'm making that request.
He did, sending this letter to the Secretary of Energy, asking many of the same questions I had been asking for years.
I'm going to get the answer, and that's my commitment.
5 months after Ryan first promised action, he brought in a powerful ally.
You realize how important your visit is here to Pike County.
That's why I'm here.
Then U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, who chaired the Energy Committee, joined Ryan, promising to get answers too.
You're in one of the most powerful positions to do something here.
Well, I'm chairman of the Energy Committee, so we have oversight of DOE. We have oversight of the nuclear program in the country. So there's answers to be had.
But those answers never came. Ryan lost his bid for the U.S. Senate to J.D. Vance, who went on to become vice president. And Senator Manchin retired from the Senate last year. Yet particles of plutonium are still being picked up in air monitors, dust, water, and in one of the most disturbing discoveries, fish.
Are fish contaminated with radioactive material, including plutonium?
Yes, there was plutonium in fish.
In this study, plutonium was discovered in 9 fish pulled from the waters around ports. But Pike County Health Commissioner Matt Brewster says the EPA states there's not enough of it in the fish to represent a real health risk.
But
so a little plutonium's not going to be bad for you?
That's according to how the EPA's risk model works, correct.
In 1998, a massive fire erupted in the heart of ports, narrowly avoiding what that former chief scientist describes as a nuclear nightmare. The raging inferno damaged crucial equipment and ultimately led to a decision 20 years ago to close ports for good.
Coming up, as cancer and premature death rates continue to climb around ports,
they're among the highest death rates any county in the United States.
We focus on the faces of fallout, organizing a historic town hall for cancer victims and their families to tell their tragic stories.
And here I am.
Battling every day to stay alive.
Every day.
And I hit the road.
You gotta check your address on that.
In search of solutions, delivering the story of ports to some stars in New York.
Thank you, Duane. Because not a lot of journalists are touching this issue.
Oh, hello, everybody.
And in St. Louis, I talked to a U.S. Senator who says the fight isn't over for Southern Ohio.
To keep telling the truth, keep telling the facts, keep telling your stories.
Plus, I lead a group of moms to step up to support cancer victims here at home.
At the end of the day, I think your power is a bunch of moms.
All that and much more as my Fallout Investigation special report continues next. Welcome back. After years of incredible discoveries about radioactive contamination around ports, I shifted the focus of my Fallout investigation to the people around the plant who live and die from cancers at rates experts describe as shocking. Behind those shocking rates, of course, are the victims. We call them the faces of fallout. The faces include Garrett, Shauna Mullen's 15-year-old son, who passed away from leukemia.
It's something I don't wish on any parent.
Leukemia claimed Brad Lyken's 13-year-old son, Braden, too.
I just told God, if you're going to take him fast.
Aaron, Joanne Ross's son, died from kidney cancer.
I'll always be his mother.
Piketon Village Councilman Dennis Foreman's mother and grandmother died from similar cancers.
Multiple myeloma.
Mary Ann Mackenzie Grubb's dad died from liver cancer.
It's traumatic.
Liver cancer claimed Paula Spear's mom as well.
Her last words was, "I love you too, baby girl."
Lola Hannah's mother died from colon cancer.
How old were you when she passed?
3.5.
And cancer claimed Deborah Copley's husband, leaving her all alone.
It's a horrible life.
Of course, cancer claims people everywhere, and it's always tragic. But around the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, many say cancer is the norm.
Seems like anybody dies, they die from cancer.
To find out how common cancer-related deaths are around ports, I traveled to Ocean City, New Jersey to meet renowned epidemiologist Joe Mangano, executive director of the Radiation and Public Health Project. 3 years ago, Mangano began crunching the government's own numbers.
Up until you did this, no one did this.
No.
No one has looked at this.
No.
Producing the first true picture of cancer and death in Pike County, home of ports. He told me it was beyond bad.
It is shocking.
From 2009 to 2020, Mangano found the premature cancer death rate in Pike County, that's people under 75 years old, was 50% higher than the rest of the country.
We're talking the top 100 in terms of death rate from cancer.
Yes, there are fewer than 100 that have a higher rate than Pike.
And even more stunning, Mangano discovered the overall premature death rate in Pike County from 2017 to 2020 was 85% higher than the rest of the country.
Pike is almost double the death rate.
It got worse. In a stunning follow-up late last year, Mangano found the rates had risen much higher in Pike County, with the premature death rate from 2021 through 2023 now climbing to 107% above the national average. That's 750 early deaths from cancer and other diseases in just 3 years, in a county with a population of only 27,088 people.
In 35 years of doing this research and looking at death rates near many nuclear plants, I have never seen a death rate this high.
While the disturbing numbers can't be definitively tied to ports, Mangano made it clear the plant is likely a major contributor.
The Portsmouth plant has to be considered not just a factor, but likely to be a major factor in this surge.
I found even more stunning numbers in April when I went to West Virginia to meet Dr. Charles Wernz, a nationally known occupational and environmental health expert. Dr. Wernz dug up disturbing data in a very small area around ports. Using protected data from the Ohio Department of Health, which contains details of every reported cancer case in the state from 1996 through 2017, Dr. Wernz identified 5 census tracts closest to ports and zeroed in on cases of leukemia and lymphoma.
Those are definitely radiosensitive cancers, cancers that are caused by radiation.
In his report, Dr. Wernz found the rate of leukemia and lymphoma in children and young people under the age of 25 in those tracts near ports is 4.9 per 1,000. That's nearly 5 times the overall leukemia rate in the U.S. And when Dr. Wernz compared what he uncovered to 12 other census tracts randomly selected across Ohio, including industrialized sections of Cleveland, he discovered the rate of leukemia and lymphoma around ports is more than 3 times higher than the rest of the state.
This is shocking data that, to me, shows an increased occurrence of those cancers in that community.
While Dr. Wernz says more study is needed to pinpoint the cause, he says it's clear leukemia and lymphoma are happening at alarming rates around ports.
My data says that there's a hazard, at least in the people closest to the plant.
Our local 12 town hall filled this auditorium with cancer victims and their families.
How many of you have had a loved one, friend, neighbor, or someone you know with cancer? Please stand.
From cancer patients like Cheryl.
But it's all throughout my body.
And April.
You're going to make it.
I believe so, yeah, I hope so. I'm scared.
To Tesla, who's endured unimaginable loss.
I've lost 17 members of my family on every side to cancer.
They all share deeply personal stories.
Are you frightened about what's happening?
Absolutely.
At times, the emotion was gut-wrenching.
Sorry.
You don't have to apologize.
I'm so sorry.
Bob Malone was simply overwhelmed, talking publicly for the first time about his 4-year-old son, Bobby, who died from cancer 38 years ago.
I just want my son to be recognized.
Michelle Likens described the agonizing memory of her son Braden's painful death.
And asking us, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Over and over again until they had to put him under to stop him from thrashing and carrying on, and he never woke back up.
Then I found Larry Farmer.
Our investigation journey started with the story of your son, Zach.
5 years ago, my fallout investigation began on his porch. Back then, Larry told me all about his son, Zach Farmer, a once-in-a-generation All-American baseball player.
He just lived to be on the mound.
Then, in 2014, at the age of 19, he got sick.
He had flu-like symptoms.
It was acute myeloid leukemia. Enduring tough treatments, Zach battled to make it back to the mound.
That's all he wanted to do.
Just get back and play the game.
Get back and play the game.
And it looked like he might beat leukemia, but it came back, and a doctor told him cancer was consuming him.
And she just said, Zach, it's got you.
Toward the end, as he lay in the hospital, Zach asked his dad whether his leukemia was connected to the home where he grew up, here on the fence line, a little more than a mile from Ports.
We lived in a hot spot.
A radioactive hotspot.
Absolutely.
On August 4th, 2015, Zach died.
That was my best friend and my son.
Do you blame your government?
Yes.
Why?
They just let us down.
The Department of Energy and state agencies weren't here to defend themselves or simply explain their science, but that's not because they weren't welcome. This board, which handles cleanup at ports and communication with the public, holds regular meetings. DOE, the Ohio Department of Health, Ohio EPA, and management at ports are all at this table.
I want to give you a chance to give your point of view.
Nearly 2 months before our town hall was held, I went before the board and asked them to attend.
I want to invite everybody on the board to come participate in a real discussion.
I sent written requests too. Representatives of DOE, which owns ports, and the Ohio Health Department and EPA, which regulate the plant, turned down my invitations without telling me why. So I went back to that board to ask in person why they weren't there.
You don't think it's important for these people to hear from you? You think you can stay in this room and that's enough?
They wouldn't answer.
If you can't defend your truth in public, where does that leave the rest of us?
Lee Blackburn, a former member of the same board, voiced his disapproval too.
Shame on each and every one of you.
Back at our town hall, there was no shame, only sadness and support for people like Heather Blanton.
And here you are,
And here I am,
battling every day to stay alive.
every day.
Heather has stage 4 breast cancer.
It's a terminal cancer.
It went to my bones.
It's in your bones.
And now I have a new spot that's on my brain.
She drives to Columbus every 3 weeks for chemo to stay alive. And because she hasn't been able to work for years, she usually struggles to find enough cash to make the life-saving trip. I've sent Heather money from time to time. Others do the same. Today, I met her at the pump.
It's good to see you. How was chemo?
There was no way I was letting her pay.
We're going to get you gas, because I know you always need gas.
This is amazing.
You would have thought I gave her gold.
What does a full tank of gas mean to you?
My life, prolonging my life.
At the town hall, Heather talked about a goal that keeps her going.
I want to watch my girls walk this stage literally to graduate. That's all I want. I made it.
In May, half of Heather's dream came true. She was here to watch her oldest daughter, Danny, graduate.
Danny Ray Blanton.
A big accomplishment for Danny.
I am so proud.
And a monumental moment for Mom.
This is all I wanted.
Now Heather has her sights set on seeing her other daughter, Raiden, graduate too.
All I want is to see her do it next year. Same time next year.
Do you have faith?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes faith
3, 2, 1.
goes a long way. Our town hall was filled with tears, tragedy, and triumph. Cancer victims finally came together. They had a voice, and we heard them. And nearly everyone here didn't hesitate when I asked them who they blame for their misery.
I want you to raise your hands if you blame our government, the U.S. Department of Energy and Ports, for causing your cancers.
Our town hall began with a special guest, Vina Cawley, the president of press.
And we thank you.
I visited with Vina at her home in McDermott.
1983, I filed my first grievance at the plant.
Since then, she's been an advocate for workers and the communities around ports.
It represents the truth.
In 1980, Vina was employed at ports when she was exposed to uranium-contaminated PCB oil. It changed her life.
By 1987, I had 4 tumors, and I had a total hysterectomy.
She survived and is now a thorn in the side of government, even if they try to write her off.
They would rather call me a nut and make people believe that I'm making it all up.
In her garage, under this cover,
Can we take a peek?
Vina has thousands and thousands of documents. She usually brings one of those to meetings to prove she's right.
The facts, the documents, the truth. Has it made a difference?
We won a few, we've lost a lot. It doesn't really make a difference. They continue to do what they've done for the last 70 years.
When I was with her, Vina was fighting again.
We've been pushing for RECA.
RECA, the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. Since 1990, the act has paid billions to uranium workers and people who got sick or developed cancer living downwind from the Nevada test site. Vina wants RECA expanded to include the area around ports.
We're still working on it to try to help us sign on to RECA, which would help the community.
But Vina isn't the only one pushing for RECA.
You can't outrun this. We're already broken here.
In the St. Louis area, a group called Just Moms STL, led by co-founders Karen Nickel and Dawn Chapman, got highly organized.
So we found ourselves really fighting for our lives.
And fighting against radioactive contamination from this massive radioactive landfill to this creek where uranium waste flows, and where this elementary school with radioactive contamination was closed in 2022. Just Moms led the charge, calling out contamination, cancer, and sickness here, and they demanded to be heard.
This is a criminal act. Yes. Letting a little girl play in a park covered with Manhattan Project government waste, knowing it.
Just Moms pushed for cleanup and compensation, and when they teamed up with U.S. Senator Josh Hawley, they finally got it.
We got it done. We got it done.
In July, Hawley led a celebration after he succeeded in getting RECA expanded to cover this part of St. Louis.
They told us it could never be done.
Hawley's RECA expansion was part of the big, beautiful bill that President Trump signed into law.
And the president put that pen to paper, something historic happened, the largest expansion of the RECA program in the history of the United States.
The RECA expansion bumps up lump sum payments and provides medical coverage to people with cancer and sickness caused by radiation, dramatically extending coverage to more than a dozen states. Ohio was not included. During the celebration, I asked Senator Hawley if he's going to consider the communities around ports.
Are you paying attention to that, and
yes.
Are you looking at that inclusion?
Yes. And yes, listen, this is a tremendous victory. There's no doubt about that. I don't want to diminish it. But there is more to do.
As Senator Hawley was leaving, I followed up.
What do you have to say to those folks who are in the midst of the battle, just not as far?
Yeah, well, I just say, listen, keep telling the truth, keep telling the facts, keep telling your stories, and we want to help everybody that we can.
I followed up with the founders of Just Moms STL, too.
Should the communities around ports be included in this?
Absolutely, yeah.
And will you help
Yes.
Absolutely.
get that done?
Absolutely. And it can be done.
Yes.
If it can be done, that means people here in this remote pocket of Ohio have to be heard. But how does that happen when so many times this area has been ignored or forgotten? Let's explore some possible solutions.
One solution for people around ports is to better organize. People in groups are active here, but often don't work together. Just Moms co-founder Dawn Chapman says her group can correct that.
We have a pilot program that we have designed that for other communities like this for this.
And she says Just Moms would come to Southern Ohio to help.
So you're willing?
We are. We have looked at a lot of documents, and that's just such a horrific situation.
Then there's a push for an independent study.
Is there a chance that DOE doesn't yet know everything that it needs to know about what the effect is?
Absolutely.
Former DOE Assistant Secretary for Environmental Management, Ann White, told me an independent study would answer a lot of questions.
Until there's a truly unbiased effort to have a really close look at this, and again, make all apples to apples comparisons and truly try and say, is there a causal connection here? We're not going to know.
Another solution could be the legal route of lawsuits. Kevin Thompson, a prominent attorney who's taken on big oil and coal, is now tackling radiation cases around ports. And he's brought in a team of scientists.
They can't hide from the science.
The idea is to see if there's more radioactivity than there would have been here without the gaseous diffusion facility.
Thompson's confident he will win these cases and force companies at ports to pay for cancer screenings.
We've got to get cancer screening for the people who have been exposed to what's come off of the site, especially the children.
I've been on the road.
You gotta check your address on that.
Talking about ports. At this gathering in Manhattan for the Radiation and Public Health Project, I spent time with a lot of people, including Christy Brinkley and Alec Baldwin.
It's an honor to be here today.
And I delivered a speech about my fallout investigation.
Thank you, Duane, because not a lot of journalists are touching this issue.
But arguably, one of the most important missions is right here at home, which brings us to another solution, a cancer support group. In a place where cancer is common, meaningful support is desperately needed.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I gathered local moms, leading a push to form a group.
What we need to do is we need to take care of the cancer patients, and that's what this is about.
That led to this.
We're a newly formed cancer group.
The Scioto Valley Cancer Support Group.
We have a Facebook page, and the information is here at the bottom of it.
Those moms are now spreading out.
Are there any resources that he needs that you could think of?
To support cancer patients as they fight to survive.
Whatever their needs are, we're going to have the resources.
When I first came to this area to investigate ports 5 years ago, more than one person told me nothing would happen because, they said, people here don't matter. After countless discoveries of radioactive contamination, their concerns are always dismissed. And even as cancers continue to rise to shocking levels, their own government tells them there is no danger. So, they're all alone here, in a place where death surrounds them and truth is hard to find. Here on this sad and lonely section of the Appalachian Highway.